Welcome to Thoughts Off the Stem. I'm Justin Barone, your friendly neighborhood pothead, and today we're smoking again something I don't know what it is. It's a Vortex disposable. I used to think it tastes like eucalyptus, but I haven't smoked it in months, and it's still good. But it has more of like a fruity berry flavor. So I don't know. I don't know if it's indica. I don't know if it's sativa. I'll have to look it up and figure it out. But I figured this week what we would do is do some edibles. That's right. I got some ghost drops, baby. I've had these before. But I thought maybe we should have a sesh and talk about edibles and why I think they're great. That's right. So I'm going to eat these. You can hear them getting ripped open. I'm going to eat these ghost drops. They are sour gushes. Gshuz. There's 2 gummies in it. They're each 5 milligrams. So you're only getting like 10% THC really. I like to have 20 milligrams. 20 milligrams gives me like a pretty solid buzz. There's a lot of people out there that can eat quite a bit more than that. If you know who Joey Diaz is, he likes to dose his friends and see how much they can take. I don't like doing that to people because I know what it's like to green out. But yeah, so these Ghost Drops Sour Gushes, they look like this. They look like little ghosts, like from the Pac-Man video game. They look like that. They're tasty. I have to say this. They've changed them though. So originally when they came out, they were pink, like the ones I have here. But now they've done a yellow one. I don't like the yellow one as much. I don't know why. I don't know what's different. Definitely the flavor is different. But the high is supposed to be the same, and I didn't find it the same. Like, I find these to be a nice little hybrid. These are tasty. These taste like lemon and strawberry maybe. So I've eaten 10 milligrams. What does it say? It doesn't really say. What are the flavors? Oh, and they're also rosin. If you're going to go edibles and you've had experience with weed, rosin's the way to go. Don't mess with just THC edibles. Like with, I don't know what they use. Distillate, I guess? If it's distillate, I find it doesn't hit as hard. But rosin, for whatever reason, really does. So these are, come on, where's the flavor? Water, gelatin, modified cornstarch, citric acid and natural flavors. Yeah, it doesn't really tell me. Like pink lemonade almost, I guess. But my buddies and I, we used to eat these shatter bears. So they were bears made of shatter. If you don't know what shatter is, it's a concentrated form of THC that, if I'm correct, I can't remember. I haven't thought about it in a while. But I think there's a butane extraction process that pulls that out and then it crystallizes. It's really good. It's very potent. It lasts a long time. So when you do these, rosin is very similar to a shatter, and it's a little bit stronger. But the bears we used to have were shatter bears. They were 10 milligrams per bear. And I found out that because it's shatter and it's more highly concentrated, I found out that I maxed out at 4. That was how I ended up on my floor trying to figure out how, like, I was going to do 8 and do 80 milligrams. No point. I got to 40 milligrams and I was like, oh, I'm just going to sit here. But again, like I said in one of the previous sessiosodes, I'm starting to notice as I get older, I can't do booze and weed together. I can do it if I'm eating weed. If I'm having edibles, it seems to be okay. If I'm smoking it, there's something about the smoke and the actual like ingesting of smoke that triggers like green out feelings and effects. So I think I'm going to have to not mix the two anymore. I think I'm going to have to go one or the other. Because I even noticed on Canada Day, when I was out, I had 10 milligrams of a gummy, and I had that with booze. I noticed there was a certain point when I was drinking that the gummy started to overtake the booze, and normally I'm like a pretty happy-go-lucky drunk. I like to meet people, do stuff. I'm pretty exciting or excitable. once I had the gummies, even though the gummies were CBG, which I'm going to talk about next sesh, um, they're supposed to uplift you. They didn't. They kind of like gave me a moment of tired, and I had to do a shot of tequila to pick me back up. But because I only did 10 milligrams, I think that's how I got away with it. Because I find that if I smoke a lot of weed before I drink, and then I introduce booze, it's like my tipping point for a green out in like no time. It happens so fast. So, yeah, that's what I've learned about my old ass. I also started to notice that like in the last 6 months or so, I'm really leaning towards edibles. I don't know why. I think it's just because they're easier. Like you could just pop them anywhere and nobody knows. It doesn't smell. I'm really on this like not smelling kick. I like the colognes and I like smelling good. And I love the smell of weed, but when you're in public, you don't need people staring at you. You're already kind of like, woo, if you're tuned, you know? So yeah, so I thought may as well talk about why I think edibles are awesome. I think edibles are awesome because they're easy to do. If you've had experience with them, they're not that scary. You know what your limits are. I can see how when you're first starting, though, you'd be a little bit worried about it because a lot of people talk about how when you do edibles, you can't be sure about what's in it. Now, that's more so for like the States or like unregulated industry. But since it's regulated in Canada, you know what you're getting in it. You're getting, the most you're getting 10 milligrams in one gummy or a pack of 5. So you could end up with like different variations of that 10 milligrams. So if you have, a pack of 5, obviously it's 2 milligrams per gummy. Easy to dose out, easy to stay safe, easy not to go and overdo it. What else can I tell you about edibles? Yeah, in Canada it's a little easier to do it, which is why at some point I'm pretty sure I started recommending that if you're new to weed and you're really worried about, like, a lot of people don't want to smoke because like smoking weed has the same, gives you like it's the same apprehension as smoking cigarettes. Like people, there's like a block there. Plus people just don't want to smoke. If you're a healthy person, you run, you work out, you do you try to stay healthy. You don't necessarily want to smoke it. And because of vaping, or because of the Juul fiasco in the States, a lot of people don't understand that vaping, you know what? They've started to notice too that at least for cigarettes, disposables, as I smoke on a disposable vape for nicotine, they're apparently not that great for you either. So, but the thing is that a lot of people got afraid of vaping THC because of Juul vapes in the States for nicotine. They were disposable pods, and people started making them for THC. But what happened was these two kids in New Jersey ended up making their own out of their house and adding vitamin E acetate to it, and that vitamin E acetate would coat your lungs. Like, it's not inhalable. So a lot of people went to the hospital, a couple people died. So people associated vaping with weed in Canada to that kind of like potential outcome with popcorn lung, real, detrimental health effects, which is not the case. I don't necessarily think that, as much as I vape now, because I'm, mentally I think it's better than smoking, I don't know that it is based on what I've learned. But I do know that eating them, you don't necessarily have to worry so much about it because you don't have that inhalant. So I'm sure that over time we'll find out more stuff about the effects of cannabis when you eat it. But for right now, it seems like it's probably the safest method to get weed into your body. So I really enjoy edibles. I have lots of good edible stories. I went to Kind Summer Fair and I ate 140 milligrams of straight THC edibles. Within 20 minutes of eating those, we parked the car and I had to walk up a hill and my legs felt like jello. It was the weirdest feeling ever. And then by the time I got into the fair, my ears stopped working because sometimes when you get high, it's overwhelming. I don't know if you've noticed this, but sometimes when you get high, especially by edibles, it's almost like there's this like barrier that keeps you sane. So it turns all the noise, the ambient noise around you into like just that ambient noise. So you just kind of hear this overall like ho, 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 like nobody can talk to me because it feels like my ears are full or like I'm underwater. And so when I got in after eating these 140 milligrams of edibles and they started to kick in, I remember a guy from Tweed coming up to me and saying, "Hey man, sign up for our thing." And I'm pretty sure like I signed up, but I don't know what values I put in the fields for like telephone number, Gmail, all that stuff, because I never got anything after that, but I definitely signed up. And then when the guy was like, "Oh, are you going to go get, your free thing?" I looked at him, I'm like, "No, you're Tweed. I don't get Tweed." I just turned and walked the other way. Edibles cut out the filter completely. Um, but they're fun because the feeling of edibles is like a lot of people when they smoke weed, they try to chase that original feeling of like overwhelming high, right? And like I don't mean overwhelming high in the fact that you're like not going to get up out of the couch or things like that. What I mean is that you just have this, like, the first time I got high, I had this super warm feeling where I just felt fully relaxed. I felt like I had the giggles. Things were funny. It was entertaining to do whatever it was that I was doing. And I was fully immersed in it. The more you smoke weed, the more you get high, the more used to it you get. So you're always chasing that feeling. Well, I feel like edibles bring that feeling back. You know what I'm saying? Like they, because they act differently. So when you smoke weed, right, it goes into your lungs and then it goes into your blood and blah, blah, blah. And then the next thing you know, you're high, right? Well, when you eat edibles, it actually takes time. So it can take anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours or longer for edibles to kick in. Okay? People don't realize that. But there have been times, on average, I'll eat edibles and within 30 minutes I feel how the edible's going to make me feel, right? But there are some times where you eat the edible and nothing happens. Because I've also had some where there's one particular, they're glitches by Aurora or by Drift. They're Drift Aurora glitches. And those things, every time, they take 2 hours to kick in. I don't know what the difference is because they're also a rosin. And I really find that the rosins hit a little bit quicker, but not with those. For some reason, those take 2 hours every single time. There have been other times where I've taken edibles at night, and I guess because your metabolism slows down, you don't end up getting high till the next day. Like there's been a couple times, not too often, where I've woken up because I ate edibles to go to sleep, but they didn't, I thought they kicked in, but they didn't kick in, and the next thing I know, I was still high the next day. Because then your body starts up and it metabolizes the edibles, and then next thing you know, you're high. Now, edible highs can last a lot longer too than like smoked highs. So smoking generally lasts you like a couple hours, maybe like 2 to 4 hours at the tail end, right? Edibles can last you like 6 to 8. Like I've taken those 140 milligrams. Okay, I'll give you an example. I took those 140 milligrams, and we went to this fair, this summer fair in Toronto, and it started at 5. So I took them at 4:30. By 5 o'clock, I started to get high, and then I wasn't unhigh until like 11 o'clock that night. Now, granted, it was a weed festival, or a weed fair, so we were walking around smoking some stuff and whatnot. But an edible high is a very, like, especially as your baseline, is a very noticeable and like maintained high. So you know what that high is, and then when you introduce other versions of high, okay, when you introduce other versions of high, you could tell when the edible high goes away and when the other highs go away. Because if the edible is your baseline, and if you eat 140 milligrams, it takes a while for your body to process all that. And then you add other stuff and it just kind of like amps up that high for a bit. So once the edibles finally started to wear off, you could, because you get a body buzz, you could feel the body buzz going away. Like, I don't care if you have sativa gummies, if you have hybrids or indicas, it doesn't matter. All edibles essentially come with an underlying body buzz that makes you feel very like comfortable and relaxed, and it's super nice, okay? But they can stick around for excessive amounts of time, because like I said, like it on average takes 30 minutes, but then there's some edibles that take 2 hours for me, and for you it will be very different. But if you want to get a good like feeling of what it would be like to be high, and you don't want to go overboard, because if you smoke a joint, okay, even if you know the THC percentage, you don't really know how your body's going to handle that. But if you get an edible gummy that has 1 milligram THC, you could, because there are those out there, you could take 1 milligram, wait 20 minutes, see what happens. If you feel absolutely nothing, you could be pretty safe in taking another one, and then you can regulate your dosage that way, which is kind of, I think, a good way to do it. It didn't always used to be like that. Like, a lot of the times when you would get edibles before retail and what's it called, recreational use cannabis became legal in Canada, you were at the mercy of, you know, a underground dispensary that maybe had some medical clients, but they couldn't really scientifically dose out how much THC you were getting, right? Or how much psychoactive part of cannabis you were getting in that edible. So I remember buying chocolate bars that, like, one piece of the bar would do nothing, but then you eat the next piece of the bar and that thing will send you to the fucking moon. You know what I'm saying? So that was what it used to be like, which I think scares a lot of people now, because people think that like that's their association to getting edible high. And then seeing people, you know, dose their friends and think that it's funny to watch a friend eat an edible and then watch their face just go white and in terror because they don't know what is happening now. I would never do that to somebody. I think that's so unfair. But now, because at least with regulated weed in Canada, you can actually dose things out really simply, I think that might be one of your better ways to go as opposed to smoking. Because if you smoke a 12% THC plant, you don't know, well, I mean, in Canada, but you maybe don't know what else is in there. You don't know how much CBD is in it. You don't know how many terps there are, what the profile's like. So a 12% THC plant could actually have you greening out because you're inexperienced, and if you start to feel like you're greening out and you panic, it almost leads you into that green out, right? Where if you eat an edible, you could slowly feel the effects. It's almost like a little bit more gradual. Like, I've never really eaten any edibles, not to say that it doesn't happen, but I haven't really eaten edibles where you don't feel the come on. Like, when you get smokable weed, right, there's a lot of times you can get a creeper where it feels like nothing's going on, and then all of a sudden, bam, out of nowhere, you get smacked with this like intense high, which can, again, throw you over the edge. So a lot of people say, oh, steer clear of edibles. I wouldn't necessarily say that. I would say if you're looking to get into weed and you haven't really tried it, maybe you're older and you've tried CBD and you like it and you kind of want to learn and find out what it's like for THC, I would try edibles. I would just make sure that I get edibles that have 1 milligram or 2 milligrams max per gummy, so that way, or per chocolate piece or whatever, so that way you can slowly dose yourself out. One thing to keep in mind is that women actually can have more, because of the makeup of their body, can have more than men. But it seems to me that a lot of women don't smoke like guys do. I'm not saying that's like the whole, I'm not saying that's everybody. I'm just saying that it seems to me that most women are good with like 2 to 5 milligrams, maybe even like 2 to 3 milligrams. And then dudes are like, just give me all of it, because like we have this weird sadomasochistic idea of what fun is. You know, we want to see if the elf can stab us in the eye and we can run from the dragon. But women like to take it easy, and they seem to get affected by it quicker. That's what I've noticed. Like, any women that I've hung out with that smoke weed, the effects tend to happen a little bit quicker. I don't know why. I'm sure there's a reason. But never take an edible that you don't know what's in it, because that's when you come into problems with like, woo, I'm too fucking high. Because I remember, so I had a buddy who gave me a little gummy robot. I'm sure I've talked about this before at some point. He gave me a little gummy robot that was supposed to be like 500 milligrams of THC. And he said, only eat like this, like a piece of it at a time. Well, I was used to eating shatter bears. So I was like, screw that, I'm eating the whole thing. So I took half and like nothing really happened. So then I ate the other half, and in between eating the halves, I smoked like a 1 gram Purple Kush joint, and then I ate it. But this is when I was smoking weed all the time. It didn't do very much. Like, it got me high, but I wasn't like, whoa, I can't move, bro. I'm just gonna sit here and stare at the stars. Whoa. I wasn't that guy. I was able to function and it worked out okay. But the shatter bears, because the shatter is so much more concentrated, it's like if you're taking 10 milligrams, you're probably really taking like 25 or 30 maybe in one shatter bear. Like, that's probably the equivalent of just having distillate or THC, whatever, in it. When I ate the chocolates, that was a different story because it was from a underground medical dispensary. And when I had those, I was at a movie and I had put the chocolates in my popcorn and I was eating the popcorn while I had with the chocolate. And then all of a sudden it hit me and I was like, oh my God, I'm stoned. And everything just like focused down and in. It was good that I could focus on like just the screen because, yeah, my world turned around. When we left that movie theater, maybe you don't, but if you've ever had this happen, you go from one setting to a separate setting. So like, let's, for example, outside to inside in the winter when it's cold outside, and then you come in and you've smoked a joint, and then all of a sudden you get warm. Like, it's a different high, right? So the same was true to leaving the movie theater to the movie theater, like the theater we were in at the movie theater complex. We left that into the hallway. Now the hall's bright. Well, it's different now because inside was dark. Now it's bright. I thought everybody knew I was stoned. But those edibles were questionable because if you ate the whole chocolate bar, you didn't know how high you were going to get. You didn't even know how much THC was in it. So like, there was no percentage on the bag. It was just, well, good luck. It's not like that now, especially if you're in Canada. If you're in Canada, you can dose yourself pretty good. Like, you could figure out what dosage you need to have a good day pretty easily. So I say, if you're looking to try weed and you don't want to smoke it, edibles are a good way to go. Drops are sometimes a good way to go, but you could forget how many drops you had if you're using a dropper or like a tincture of weed. Yeah, and then you got to watch because some people will like take that and try and smoke it. It's not made for smoking. Don't smoke it. You'll really fuck up your lungs. But yeah, if you want to learn what it's like to be high and you just want to take little baby steps, edibles are, at this point in the game, I think a pretty good way to go. I don't think that they're unreasonable. There would have been a time where I would have said to somebody like, don't take any edibles because you don't know what you're getting, but this isn't it now. Just don't take any black market edibles and expect good things to happen. I guess you could say, So essentially the key things to know about edibles are that you really want to know what the dosage is. You really want to know if it's nighttime or daytime, even though both of them will give you like a body buzz. You still want to know if it's nighttime or daytime. You want to make sure that if you're not an experienced professional weed smoker, if it's your first time or you're just being introduced to it, you want to make sure that whatever gummies you get are probably a variety, like have multiple gummies in the bag, and they have from 1 to 2.5 milligrams per gummy so that you can easily dose. If you're a moderate professional, you could probably move up to the 5s where there's 2 gummies for 5% and 5%. If you're a professional, you could probably go up to rosin drops or hard candies because those will go up to 100 milligrams per edible. Yeah, that's pretty much everything for edibles, dude. I like edibles because, like I said, I can have 20 milligrams of weed and know that I get like an underlying buzz that's a super fun social buzz. Whereas if I go over that, that's when, once I go past the 40 milligram mark of like a rosin or something, that's when I end up in like, couch lock territory, even if it's a sativa. Edibles are like that, dude. Like, so Bridget, this woman I worked with at the pot shop, she made brownies once. If you haven't seen that episode, you should watch it. She made brownies, and that stuff's all sativa. Well, it made me super giggly, and I laughed like a crazy person. I don't know how much was in it because, again, homemade. But I couldn't get off the couch, and it was a sativa. Like, I wasn't moving anywhere, but I couldn't stop laughing and giggling. So it was just a good happenstance that when I got home before it kicked in, I sat down on the couch. I had some I had some snacks, and my kids were watching Impractical Jokers, and so for the next, my oldest daughter was really into it. So for the next like 3 hours, that's all we did was sit and watch that, and I was laughing, crying. So you got to be aware of what edibles you're doing. I find if you can find somebody that cooks really good homemade edibles, get them to do it, because like on average, if I'm having edibles, I can do about 100, 120. But again, over that 120, things start to get a little questionable as the day goes on. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so just know your dosage. If you're unfamiliar with it, talk to your bud tender about it. If you're interested in smoking weed, maybe bypass the smoking it and then go into the edibles, because like I said, you can regulate how high you get a little bit easier. But also keep in mind, depending on your system, it's a trial and error. So you may end up getting high tomorrow, you know, depending on the time of day. Like if you eat an edible at 9 and you go to bed at 10, you might wake up stoned, because then your metabolism kicks in and all of a sudden everything's released. So just keep that in mind. There are certain times when you should and shouldn't eat them, unless you're using a gummy for nighttime. And in that case, obviously have it about an hour before bed, because it's designed for that. What else can I tell you? That's pretty much it. Like those are the key points. If you're gonna try weed and you don't want to smoke it and you want to do edibles, that's it. Yeah. Those are my thoughts off the stem for this week. I hope they helped you out. I hope you enjoyed the sesh. I still don't know what this is. I've been thinking about it all episode, but I don't remember what this vape is. It definitely doesn't. It doesn't taste as eucalyptusy as I thought it did. But yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the sesh. Thanks for sticking around for this long. If you have any questions about edibles or you want to know about dosage or anything like that, email me at thoughtsoffthestempodcast@gmail.com. Check out tots420.com. You can also go to the contact page there and email me there. You can check out Thoughts Off the Stem on Instagram, Thoughts Off the Stem on Facebook. Check out the Thoughts Off the Stem YouTube channel, where you can get the Sunday playlists, Sunday strain review playlist, where you get all the strains and everything we talk about on here. What else? Yeah, that's it. Until next time, keep your lids low, baby.